Okay, so imagine this. This is Tom. He is a 39-year-old male and an upstanding citizen with a wife and 3 kids. But his life is about to take a drastic change for the worse. He gets up in the morning and gets ready for work. He has some muesli cereal with a banana and some coffee. He gets into his brand new car. He bought it just last week. He drives the 20 miles to the Bachelor Burger, where he manages the store. But as he closes in, he does something he never does. He misses the left turn into the parking lot and has to drive up to the next light to make a U-turn, a mistake he would never forget. He makes the turn, but is in such a rush he misses the raging semi-truck coming at him from the other direction. The semi T-bones Tom, sending him and his car into a rollover that seems to last a lifetime. Tom is ejected from his car out his driver's side window and lands on the sidewalk. Just before Tom blacks out, he glimpses his mangled and torn body. It seems to him that every bone in his body is now out of place. Even the sole of his left foot is staring up at him from an odd angle. The trucker gets out of his truck and covers his mouth in horror at what he sees before him. 2 hours later, Tom regains consciousness and sees a doctor with bushy eyebrows staring down at him. He looks concerned. "Tom, you're dying," the doctor says. The doctor explains to Tom that he has broken over a dozen bones in his body and that his major organs were failing due to internal bleeding. That he has to make a decision, and quickly. Tom has excellent medical insurance because Bachelor Burger treats their employees right and even covers head transplantation. "You are beyond repair, Tom. The only way to save your life is to transplant your head onto a new body. Luckily, we have the largest selection of bodies in the state." Tom's eyes widen as the doctor steps aside and reveals 10 different headless bodies. They are in liquid tanks and tubes emerge from the necks, revealing some sort of artificial circulation. "You have a chance to start over, Tom. To save your life. You just have to give us your authorization," the doctor says. The doctor tells Tom that the bodies are all of similar blood type and genetics as him, giving him a good chance of survival, and that each donor has unique traits, meaning he can choose a body type that he likes. Tom thinks about his wife and kids and decides he doesn't want to die. He looks at the 3rd body from the right and blinks once to give the doctor the go-ahead. He is put under anesthesia, and a whole team of doctors and specialists get to work. They quickly and safely remove Tom's head and then hook him up to an AI-powered operating table. The surgical robotics repair Tom's spinal cord onto the new body, and in an instant stitch together blood vessels and arteries. As a final touch, his neck is stitched shut and his skin is blended at the incision points to minimize scarring. Tom wakes up and breathes on his own for the first time since the accident. The pain was gone, and there was only a dull ache around his neck. He looks at his new body in awe, marveling at what medical science is able to accomplish. It was a scary kind of intrigue, but Tom was alive. That was all he cared about. The doctor has Tom sign a few forms and sends him home because there is no recovery time, and asks him if the new quadruple-decker sandwich at Bachelor Burger is any good. He would drop by and try it out. Tom flags down a taxi outside the hospital and heads home. His wife greets him in the kitchen and hugs him. "Ooh, feels like you've been working out," she says, feeling his biceps. "How was your day?" Tom shakes his head and begins to tell her about his day, hoping she wouldn't be too freaked out about his new body. Tom is alive because of groundbreaking breakthroughs in transplant technology. In the world he lives in, head transplantation has been perfected and is relatively routine. It is a procedure that is generally reserved for those in life-threatening situations, or those whose disabilities prohibit a good quality of life, or the ultra-elite who use it as a perverse form of life extension. But Tom needed a new body to live, and the transplant was a success. So what do you think? Are head transplants ethical? Should people be allowed new bodies in life-threatening situations? On the flip side, if you were an organ donor, would you allow your whole body to be used in this manner if you unfortunately passed away? Would you be comfortable having your head on another body if it meant saving your life? I'm curious to know your opinions on this matter. This story may sound like science fiction, and in many ways it is, but it might not be forever. In fact, real-life neurosurgeon Dr. Sergio Canavero sparked controversies in the medical community back in 2015 when he said he was going to try human head transplantation on a live person. He even had a volunteer with a muscle disease who would theoretically benefit from the surgery, but this man backed out eventually. Perhaps rightly so. Dr. Canavero has told press that he has successfully performed the transplant on a live monkey in 2016, and also human cadavers later on. This being said, no surgery has ever been performed demonstrating complete success of a head transplant, including being able to reattach the spinal cord, among other medical challenges to maintain things like motor control and body sensation, or showcase long-term viabilities of such a surgery. But will this change? Will the medical community eventually overcome all of the hurdles to successfully perform a head transplant? Should they even be trying in the first place? If they are successful, is that a good thing? The first person to undergo such a procedure would be entering uncharted waters, surely. The psychological impact alone on the person could be detrimental, not to mention the long process of physical rehabilitation. If the surgery is ever performed successfully on a human, the ethical and philosophical response the public might have could shift the course of culture. Personally, the whole idea seems a little too like Frankenstein's monster to me. I mean, if you're just measuring yourself by mass, after a head transplant, you're more someone else than you are you. Also, are you the type of person who believes we can feel with our heart, or sense with our gut? Do those things contribute to our identity and how we act? If so, by getting a new body, you might actually be changing more about yourself than you think. On the flip side, if you believe all you are is your brain, then the prospect might not look as terrifying, especially if the procedure is life-saving for the people who decide that they're okay with it. In the end, a lot of how people may feel about this probably boils down to if the transplant can be performed successfully enough to maintain the quality of life for the subject. Things like public perception also come into play, and what a person's ethical, philosophical, and religious beliefs are. This is also not to mention the legality of such a procedure, and likely needs to be proven to not be a type of cruel or unusual punishment for the subject receiving a new body. There is a lot of heated debate on this topic, and rightly so. So, are head transplants ethical? If yes, why? If no, should they ever be? Does your or my opinion matter if there is a willing donor and a willing recipient and a willing doctor? Tell me what you think.